Okay, we're in. Cool. I'm here talking with Master Pat Barry, 7th degree black belt, instructor down in Cork Taekwondo. Specifically, we always talk about North Mom when we talk about Master Barry, and I'm really, really excited to get into this with yourself tonight, sir. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Maher, as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, I mean, it's a really, really strange time for people around the world, not just in the Taekwondo community, but everybody. And I suppose the most pressing question is, how are you coping with the whole lockdown, essentially?
Yeah, well, I suppose what I've done is I've actually increased my training and mobility work and things like that, because it's allowed me. I've full-time centre in Carrigaline, so I can go down there and train by myself, and it's allowed me that much. But on a bigger scale, I suppose, just from a community point of view, just kind of worried about how this is all going to go and where it's going to go and what's going to happen basically at this stage from a club point of view, but also from a people point of view as well, just worried about people in general. So it's worrying times ahead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, first you feel the immediate effects on yourself and then you kind of discard all of the other stuff and kind of go, this is bigger than just me or my business or my, it affects your family and other people. It's just, but I think, we're doing a good job. And I think if people follow the sort of advice, we should kind of pull through this properly, right?
We should, yeah. I certainly think we're going about it the right way anyway, when you look at what's happening in other countries and things as well. Hopefully, we'll be able to pull through.
I suppose we're a bit fortunate, that we didn't get hit first, right? There was other countries that are in far worse shape than us. But, that aside, let's talk about sort of positive things, about the things we actually did enjoy doing when we were allowed outside.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I've known you now for a few years. We've been back and forth. We've seen each other at various tournaments and technical seminars and IICs and the likes. But for people who haven't had that pleasure, maybe you might give us a bit of history and background and story about yourself and why Taekwondo. How did you start Taekwondo and where did that come from? And how did you stay the course?
Yeah. I started Taekwondo for a brief spell in 1979 because I was living near a club called Sawmill Street at the time. That was Master Norman Creedon, who's still training in Taekwondo now. Mm-hmm. And then we moved house, and in 1980 I joined Toker Taekwondo with Mr. Jim O'Sullivan, and Mr. Brian Walsh was there as well, and that was a thriving club. And at the time there were only a number of clubs in Cork, so there was Strawberry Hill, there was Mayfield, Douglas, and then you would have had Toker as well, and Sawmill Street. You couldn't open a club, you had to have a 2-mile radius around the club, so you couldn't join. So I joined in 1980, and but I still played the GA. I loved hurling particularly, and that was something that I spent a lot of time on, the hurling, things like that. So I kind of trickled my way through the grades, to be honest with you. Right. 1988, I went to Ockram Street in Dublin and graded under Grandmaster Heel Cho at the time. So yeah, that was a unique event in the sense of everybody.
Did you have a blue dough book or a red dough book?
Those blue dough, I had a white dough book.
Okay, we had a
all the way from not from my first grade, my second grade, all the way through to my black belt, and got piping on it. All my mum sewed the piping on it and everything, so it saw me through. But I had a brief one, all right, with the blue dough book, but no, I couldn't wear it. They were made of duck canvas. They were really, really heavy. They were so heavy, so.
Conditioning training in your dough book.
Yeah. But Toker was a fabulous club. I suppose I started instructing there just after getting my black belt, and we used to have, inside the big hall, we used to have 4 classes going at a time.
Wow.
Self and Master Delay were in the centre of that, and Mr. O'Sullivan would be up on one end, and then Mr. Billy O'Mahony down the other end. And we would just be shouting, at our groups to try and keep people going.
And was that across all ages, all shapes and sizes?
All ages, but particularly teens and adults. You wouldn't have so many young kids like you have now. It was really in the club at the time, and I think I was on kind of yellow belt duty, and they then would be at the back of me, so we would be teaching each other kind of back to back, and trying to outshout each other and things like that. And Mr. very, really loud voice as well, but. Yeah, it was a fantastic club, and then you do your own training then as well after that. Monday technical, and then Wednesday would have been just all in. We'll call it sparring, but
okay, right. Didn't say no more.
It's the vibe, really,
Yeah. It's interesting because we do the same in not the same at all, but we have parallel classes in Dalkey and Carrick, where we run 2 classes side by side in a big hall, and I mean, it is a challenge to fight that echo, you know, it really is. So I can't imagine doing it with four classes. It's
Yeah,
just
four
insane.
classes, but a great atmosphere in times of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really got into instructing around that time, and then 1990, I opened my own club with Mr. O'Sullivan, and I suppose that was I had earmarked areas around the south side, but you
Hmm.
couldn't open on the south side of the city, so I had to go to the north side. So I'm
Hmm.
living in the south side of Cork, so I went to the north side into North Man. So I told Mr. Sullivan I had found a suitable school, a hall, and things like that. So he said, "Grand." And at the time, Strawberry Hill, which was a really had been a strong club, was going downhill basically at that stage,
Okay.
and they were going to close. So I decided I was going to open in 1990, but if I had opened the club, I would have been suspended
Okay.
because you couldn't
Of
open a
the
club.
radius.
Mr. O'Sullivan took the hit on that for me. He took the suspension for 2 weeks, and I opened my club. So the club actually next Wednesday next week will be 30 years old. No,
Wow,
so
that's
almost
that's
30 years next week. Yeah.
that's some achievement. 30 years in in anything, never mind taekwondo, is some
Yeah.
achievement. So congratulations and fair play to that one.
Yeah.
And so this is 1990, and I mean, just before you got into instructing, were you big on the competitive scene? Because I know, you know, as a club, you're quite competitive nowadays in the national circuit. Has that always been prevalent, or is this something that switched over for you at that? Like,
I think it's something that kind of switched over. I was a mediocre competitor.
mm,
We used to have inter-club tournaments, all right, maybe every second Sunday morning we'd have them.
right.
And I was more into point sparring. We used to have a point sparring, and I could hold my own in point sparring, but when it got to continuous and
Yeah,
something
yeah.
me, then that would be it. I liked power breaking as well.
Mm.
And we used to do a little bit of spec tech, but so the competition was just mediocre. There wouldn't be one or two competitions a year. I wouldn't do that much traveling to competition. Like the big competitions would have been in, say, Connolly Hall and City Hall, demonstrations and things like that there as well.
Okay.
So they were fairly big competitions. And then you'd have maybe a kind of like a Dublin Open as well, or the equivalent of
Something
it.
similar, yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose the competitions come from me really promoting to members and things like that, and just seeing what members liked and enjoyed, and growing into competitions more so than anything else, because I think that's where people have to try things. That's where people have to see what they're learning in class, to put themselves up against other people, because they could be really, really good in the club.
Hmm.
Suddenly you take yourself out to the bigger community, wider community, and things like that, and all of a sudden you're saying, "Oh, right,
Yeah, it's
upper game," particularly like in the competition side of things. Like, yeah,
it's a steep learning curve, all right, being a big fish in a small pond, you know.
can be, yeah, yeah,
I think everyone gets that lesson and everyone kind of walks away, and you either react two ways, but either go, ah, to hell with this, or you go, oh, right, hang on a second, you know, and dust yourself off. And it's really, it's a make or break moment for a lot of people. It's
yeah. We've had
interesting.
to come back a number of times, come back to the drawing board, literally, like, and say, okay, what can we do to improve? Do you
Mm.
train harder? do you
Yeah.
or do you just move a little bit, like, so. But yes, changed certainly over the last while as well. I think it's got much more, professional now, competition.
Mm.
Things. The skill is unbelievable. I think the skill level,
Nice.
speed level is just phenomenal now.
It really is. I mean, you see it all over like you only have to go to any of the national tournaments nowadays, and you're watching, you know, professional amateurs is the best way, is how it was described to me before, and it's just the way the height that the standard that some of the elite competitors are at nowadays is just it's a testament to their work ethic and to the work ethic the instructors are putting in. You know,
It's huge,
it's
yeah, massive. But you say about competitions, just going back to, I suppose, the old days and things like that, Mr. Aidan Walsh and things like that.
mm,
We went to the World Championships in 1989 and 1981 in Granby Halls in Leicester.
yeah,
And the people who would win the patterns was a guy called Boom Boom, and he could literally kick 6 o'clock side kick.
yeah,
So
okay.
levels and things like that were all over the place. Like, but this is the guy who was winning world championships and
Uh,
any competitions that were around there and things like that. Like,
so I mean, impression and aesthetics rather than technical accuracy
yeah,
being more important.
yeah. No, and there was some skillful and the sparring side. There was some skillful, but we used to brawl a lot as well. Like, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just go forward. Like, it was just relentless. Like,
Mm.
so
I've seen a few highlight videos, and there'll be a few minus points thrown out nowadays for.
well, it would be certainly, yeah,
But
yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, we'll certainly come to the umpiring in a minute about that, and because it's definitely an area I want to pick your brain about. But I'm just curious about where you. So I mean, there was you decided to start the club, and I mean, After you said about you were suspended for 2 weeks, and where were we at association wise at this stage? Was this
The
AITA?
AITA
Yeah.
at the time, yeah, yeah. So, and then there, in Cork, there was a grouping called All Cork Taekwondo School, ACT, it was called as well.
Okay.
So that was the association there, and it was Mr. O'Sullivan took the hit for the suspension, so he had to, not train for 2 weeks, and he had to abide by that as well. But he had lots of instructors that could keep his club running, and I opened up then.
Yeah. Right. So it was a
Club in April. He took the suspension, and I started from there. But yeah, so it started from there in the hall, like in the nice wooden floor up in the North. I used to go up and have to collect the key from the monastery, from the brothers in the monastery, collect the key from the housekeeper, come down, and bring the key back up again. Yeah.
Right.
And since then, we're obviously a key holder now. And
Yeah, they trust you now after a few years.
we have to
That's
run the
good.
place now. But yeah, in those days, you had to do that all the time.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been. It's interesting, all right. I mean, everyone has their stories with their venues and their halls and the purpose-built places versus the rented schools, or and there's pros and cons to both, right? So I mean, the club starts out in sort of circa 1990s is when
Yeah.
it's when this happens, and so. Was it just why start a club? I mean, I know you said when you were in Tower that you had a real interest in instructing, but was it something you said, right now, this is where I want to go and I want to drive on this and really grow, world champions, or I want to, was that the plan, or was it just, I just want to sort of teach Taekwondo and be involved in this more?
That's what it was. It was, I just wanted to, I suppose, want to test the waters and see what it would be like as an instructor for myself, standing on my own 2 feet. I had ambitions to do that. And I had no great plan about world champions or Europeans or anything like that. I just wanted to go out and I wanted to teach people Taekwondo and involve as many people as I could in the Northside community. Basically. So that's where it came from. Yeah.
And did you get good response to the club straight away? I'm assuming you with the other club around the corner closing, you got a kind of a natural influx from that, or did you?
I would have, yeah, but I got a lot of beginners, a lot of, again, the teenagers, and a lot of adults in the club. And one of the guys who first night up there, he's still actually training now as well. He's got his own club, so that's Master Alan Troy. He's still there, and all his family came through the club as well. But my own sister was involved in Taekwondo then as well, so she helped me as well to open it. Well, my two sisters were involved in Taekwondo at that time. But yeah, it was just a matter of just promoting the club Monday and Thursday, just to see what we would get in and trying, so we had a blank canvas when we started there. We just didn't know how many hours to book. We didn't know what the response would be like. We didn't know what age group. So we were a little bit like flying by the seat of our pants, if you understand that.
I very much do. I remember when we started, it was very much like, let's throw 3 classes up on 2 days and see what sticks,
Yeah.
And did you make a conscious effort to target a specific age group or a demographic, or was it just sort of, we're going to run everything and see what's?
We're just going to run everything and see what way it would pan out, and see what would happen from just advertising things like that. So again, Mr. Jim O'Sullivan was a great help that way as well. We did the flyers up and things like that, and basically we went door to door ourselves, and just broadened out from the actual North Monastery itself, and into areas like Grawn and Blackpool. As much as we could, and then you couldn't actually stand. You couldn't go to Mayfield and promote there, because that was their area. So you couldn't be seen to be promoting from outside your area. So it was really around the Neptune Stadium side of things, is where we were promoting ourselves.
It's interesting, because I mean, you say that there was only a couple of clubs in Cork a few years ago, and you look at Cork now. I mean, you're neighbours with people. You can hear the other club counting if you listen hard enough, I reckon. It's a real kind of testament to the sort of what's happening down there. I mean, it's a real sort of hive of Taekwondo across not just our own association, but I'm sure others as well.
Oh, it is, and I suppose where that brought really home is about 6 years. Yeah, it would have been 6 years ago. We did a 40 years kind of anniversary of Taekwondo in Cork. Mr. Aidan Walsh, I think, at the times. And I'd say to go to that, amongst other, but the amount of different dough books that were there, all the guys who had trained, things like that. But it was great to just train with people that you had, trained
years
and years ago. But there was an awful lot of politics around at the time. Huge amount of politics involved in it. And that Master Ford was in Cork as well at the time, and he was we used to bounce off each other at meetings and things like that, and as well, because the team was a big thing, but the team was only 5 people.
Right.
Selected to go away, like, and then there was quite a lot of membership fees and things that would all be diverted into, just say, for the team itself and things like that, because it was expensive to go away. Like, I mean, you're talking about going to places like Argentina and things like that, championships. So, yeah, but there's, just to go back to your point, there's a huge, still a huge amount of clubs in Cork. Nearly in every town, in village, Ballincollig has 3 clubs.
Yeah.
Where I am in my other club in Carrigaline has 2 clubs going, and another one just down the road in Crosshaven. So there are many clubs around the place.
Yeah, no shortage for competition, and maybe that's why you're a naturally competitive club, because you have such, competition around you, and it's great to see that. I mean, your club kind of went from strength to strength. I know you've produced a wealth of black belts, a wealth of kind of fighters that have gone on to national and international level and championship level, and and did that all just happen organically, or at some point did you say, okay, I have people here with a set of skills that if I invest in them now, they can go, or I have to go and upskill myself to bring them to that level, or how did that pan out?
Yeah, it was a matter of trying to upskill and keep pace with some of these guys, because they were hungry to go to international competitions as well. So that was something that, I suppose, like, I've been to a number of different associations, and you're trying to learn off everybody and pull from everybody, and basically rob as well, and you use what you can from people. So it was, I suppose, from part of was our training itself. We just trained really hard, and tried to develop people then, and tried to. There was no such thing as individualized people at that time. When you started off, it was just everybody just trained together. And if you saw some people maybe a little bit better, you tried to push them towards competition and for them to compete, to test themselves. And that's what it was. And then obviously they worked a little bit outside the club themselves. Not a little bit, but a lot, really, at times. Like,
it tends to be the difference maker, doesn't it? In any sort of thing, the ones that try to do their own bit at home, they have that little bit sharper step. They're that little bit more flexible, that little bit stronger, and it's not really. I always compare it to maths class. If you come to school and do maths for 2 hours a week, do you really think you're going to pass your exams at the end of the year? It's like, you need to do your bit of homework as well. If you want to go on to a certain level, I mean, that's that. I mean, the other thing I've noticed sort of about the club is you're quite a strong family coordinate in your club. Like, everyone's involved. It's not just yourself. I mean, it's did that not? I mean, was that just a genuine love across the board, or was it just like, I need help, get in here? And
well, the family thing, it's strange. When on the north side of Cork City, we call them the salt of the earth, basically, because they're so helpful and things like that. So what was happening is their kids were involved, and then you get some parents, you say the parents, they would just offer their help. Yeah. And they would come forward and help as well. So if you're going to competitions and you're organising a bus and things like that, you'd organise a bus, then the parents would go as well. So it built up a bit of camaraderie that way as well. So then the parents would kind of row in with any events that you were doing, any fundraising, any competitions, small tournaments, demonstrations were a big thing in that time as well. You would do a demo, and you'd pack the Northman Hall. And to do that, you would need the support of people, like, to do that. So parents would get heavily involved with that then as well, and help us. So there's a great kind of family spirit, especially on the north side at the time. And then I suppose their kids grow up, and then a lot of them gone off to college and doing different things, different activities. And some of those people who were there initially now are not there anymore, unfortunately. Like, and that's life, like, that, and then you ask people. Some people now would like to get involved still, but like, they're just so active with other things that they're doing for their kids and in life. It's just hard for people to give that time now.
Yeah, so it's the modern world, right? I mean, life sometimes just takes over, So, I mean, how did you keep your own training going and not kind of let life take over? Because, I mean, you said you got to, I don't know what grade you said you were when you started. I mean, but
it was first degree, then I went to second degree in 1990, actually, when the club from there. And it was just a matter of trying to just keep training yourself as well. So you were the demonstrator when you were teaching. You were the demonstrator, you were trying to do the warm-up with people as well. So I was like in Toker, you'd come out of the place and you'd be in a bog of sweat yourself, because you were keeping people going, things like that. And then I suppose I brought that into the club then as well in Northman. And just anything that had to be demoed, I was the demo person. to do it as well. So that was a little bit of a workout, but just trying to find time then outside of that to train myself. So I was kept myself fit because I was still playing a bit of
Okay.
and football that as well, but they're totally so different, like, more explosive and things like that you need with the taekwondo rather than, I was playing midfield for the Gaelic football team, so that was the aerobic fitness for that. So I suppose the training, what you would do is you'd continue to train, but you'd up your training, particularly like in the year that you were going for your grade or due to go for your grade. You would up it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose I trained with a lot of different instructors. I would always kind of go back to, your home club. So if you were Monday and Thursday, you would still be training your Wednesday. So my Monday clashed, unfortunately, but the Wednesday we trained then in Toker, or you would go to somewhere else, maybe Sawmill Street on a Saturday, where everybody would kind of train together, and there was a bit of crossover training then to be done.
Yeah, and again, that's probably the good fortune of having many clubs in the area, right? You had a bit of selection,
Yeah.
It's
And the nights that you weren't teaching classes, you could go there and
do your bit. Yeah, I mean,
do the bit there, like, yeah.
So I mean, you've obviously kept that up, and promoted to master. It's not a small achievement by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm sure that was a real milestone for you. Did you ever see it going that far when you were training?
I didn't really, to be honest with you. I got my second degree, and then okay, a rolling, and then the fourth degree was the thing. Say, okay, I'll go for the fourth degree now, and that will be it, like, So I trained, and I went for the fourth degree, and said that was it basically. But then the whole, I suppose, I'm competitive by nature, like, as well as, and also just for my own progression as well. I just wanted to progress as well, because you had members coming up who were black belts, and they obviously wanted to progress as well. And it wasn't a matter of staying ahead of them or anything like that. One of my best friends in Taekwondo is a second degree black belt, Mr. Murphy, and he trained in the North Man. He got his black belt and he got a second degree under me. He has no interest in going any further. The guy should be sixth degree at this stage.
Sure.
So he just didn't want to go any further. Whereas I just wanted to progress. And then when I got my fifth degree, that was with Grandmaster O'Toole, because we were at the time at the INTA. I suppose the seventh degree was something then that I said it would be kind of like a unique achievement to go and train for that. So when we joined the ITA, I continued my training, and Master Wheatley was very supportive of me there as well to do a bit of, and before that, even to go on for my fifth degree, I used to travel myself and Master DeLay. We used to travel up on a Friday night to train with Grandmaster O'Toole in Exchequer Street on a Friday evening. So we drive up, take you 3.5 hours to drive up. You train with for an hour and a half, you turn around and you drive back down again. And that was in preparation for fifth degree.
There you go, kids. That's what it takes. 6 hours in the car, and
yeah, so I mean, it's 2.25 hours now to back down again. Motorways, you have to go there, minute and everything at that stage, like so.
Yeah, no, Jesus, that's testament. Like that's perseverance, that's dedication, and that's sort of exactly you would expect no less. Like, I mean, to get to these standards and these levels, this is the sort of graft you have to kind of be willing to put in, right?
Yeah, that's true.
It's true across all things in life. I mean, you don't accidentally become great. It's a great quote I heard.
Yeah, I know. And part of the hard work was even things going like to Poland. Poland, and I remember we arrived in Poland, dropped our bags, and this is Nowa Ruda. Dropped our bags in this, I call it a hostel basically, and then went training. And after the first hour of training, I said, oh my God, we're after doing about 1,000 kicks, Yop Dolly against the walls. And I just said, like, the afternoon session was to come as well, like, and after just doing a morning session, I was reckoning it just opened my eyes to the way, look at these guys, this is the way they were training as well. And that was between me going from my 6th degree to my 7th degree.
Yeah.
But I went to every session because I wanted to absorb stuff and learn stuff, and said they were very, very, I suppose, successful internationally. I wanted to see what they were doing and how they were about stuff like that as well. So it was really, really eye-opener and hard graft there as well.
Yeah, I'd say your students thanked you when you came back.
Oh, yeah. And they travelled with me the second year.
So we have to keep them away from these lads.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's great. And I mean, it's deadly to see that when you're traveling further afield, even more so to get even and targeting, especially clubs in countries like Poland, where they have such a great standard. You can't not pick up something there. I mean, but I mean, all the while through all of this training and advancing and progressing, you kind of got into the umpiring as well, right?
I did. I suppose I was involved with, I suppose, the Irish team, and my own daughter Sarah was, was an international competitor and things like that. So I had an interest. So I was manager for a while, then I was junior coach for a while, and all the time I said I'd like to go to the other side, as we call it, like, and just see what the umpiring was like, and things. So I enjoyed, and I still do enjoy umpiring, but I wanted to umpire internationally because I think that is, I suppose, the pinnacle of umpiring, just to test yourself there and see what that's like and things. So, so I decided that that's where I would throw my hat in and umpire and try and upskill there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my B certificate, and then I did my A cert in the IUC, and I've been very lucky to be selected for European Championships for the last number of years at this stage, and also at World Championship level as well. And I suppose I've been honoured as well to be selected in for finals and on the centre stage and things, and for 4 to 6 degree patterns in the last number of European Championships, which is amazing, really, like, because it's an amazing skill level, and you're there. You have a job to do, and then afterwards you reflect, say, whoa. You just umpire that there, be it whoever it was at the time, Mr. Delays, Lillian Delays up there, at the moment. But before that, you'd Suska, and who's a phenomenal competitor. So I suppose the umpire is something that I enjoy doing, and would like to continue with it as well if I can. So.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I mean, I have a few questions on this one, but like, as an umpire, what do you think the most difficult discipline to sort of officiate is?
I suppose there are two there. I suppose one is the patterns, because at the moment the way the patterns are judged, as you know, it's one person against one person, and sometimes it's very hard to judge. Are you judging the person, or are you umpiring as in the technical and the whole area around the pattern itself? And you have to see the pattern itself rather than saying that person's better than this person. It's not that. It's the minute detail. So patterns can be difficult, I will say, and the reason I say that is because I was at the World Championships, and we were scoring the 4 to 6 degree pattern, and you'd have a look at the screen, across the screen, just to see, and you'd know roughly how many clicks you're after giving, so you'd know roughly where you were in the deductions and things. But I remember looking over 2 patterns at one stage, and we were maybe in the 14, 13, scoring range for 4 to 6 degree patterns, and you had somebody who was down at 3. Now, I don't know what they were seeing or what I was missing, but that's massive deduction when you're deducting 0.2s.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things I see in patterns all the time. It seems to be one of those disciplines that's really hard to get consistency across all the umpires from.
Yeah, it really is. And with the 0.2s, deductions, some person's going to be looking maybe more at the stances, and every time somebody does a walking stance, maybe their foot is splayed out a little bit, or somebody's then going to be looking at the line, or maybe there's a pre-action or something like that. It's as if we have to press for 0.2, where sometimes it's so difficult to see. I remember judging Mr. Suska, and he did a bandadolia in Wiam, and his foot just ever so, his standing foot ever so slightly moved. So you're there and say, oh great, it's 0.2. It's as if, it's that detailed. I can press for 0.2 because you can justify why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, like, you can obviously, there's a number of different 0.2s you can deduct. I suppose patterns is hard, and traditional sparring can be difficult as well.
Yeah.
It's changed so much, and it's such moving, like, what's a final blow? Did they block that? Did they avoid it? Sequences, the flow of all that, stances, the technical detail. There's so much happening inside there as well, and there's 2 people competing at the same time, in the sense of one is defending, one is attacking. you have to watch both competitors doing that. So that can be a difficult technical one as well to call it.
It's also not as prevalent as, say, sparring or patterns are in our day-to-day, right? You know, we tend not to do classes of traditional sparring every week, you know, whereas the pads will go on, or we'll definitely sit in the lines and do patterns at some point, you know.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if it's maybe the lack of sort of repetition of it makes that a little bit more difficult as well. But,
it probably is, and it's not, you know, we don't have it here even as a national competition type thing. It's hard. It's a lot of time for people to spend on something as well. Whereas sparring in particular is much more clear, and that's why we have, I think, a lot of sparring. That's why maybe we've been so successful. It's a lot more clear. If that's a 3-pointer, okay, maybe 2 judges going to score that. You know, whereas even the competitors themselves will say patterns. They don't really know what the judges are looking for.
Yeah.
And that's wrong for them to say that, because it's in the book what judges are looking for. If they're doing it to the best of their ability, then it's down to 5 judges who are judging them, and it's down to what preference has that judge. Do they like power? You know, is there rhythm? You know, are they a rhythm person? You know, so individual umpires will have an individual likes.
There is a big emphasis though on power in patterns now recently. You can see it in the way the scoring is laid out, right? With the 0.5s for power, and then the overall maximum 2 points, 3 or 0.2s as well for lack of power as well. So I mean, there seems to be a lot of marks up for grabs for, you know, being powerful and maybe sacrificing technique. Would that be something that would be fair to say, or would that be a little bit awry? I mean, if you're going to read the rules by the book, or
well, if you put maybe two, it's unfair maybe to go male and female and judge them, but you have powerful. They're twins in Poland, both 4 to 6 3 patterns now. Real powerful, really strong guys. And you put them on the floor, and you put Lillian, Mr. Lay on the floor, or you put Sylvia from Italy on the floor. You know, and she is really dynamic and really powerful. So power is, I think, is an individual thing. You can't class, you know, one person's mass. You know, are they generating the power for their frame size as opposed to somebody else and somebody's slight? Pawn would be a case in point. Pawn, you'd see where people have a lower center of gravity, okay, and that is really what I call a person who has power. Lower center of gravity, okay, will probably win out rather than a person who's 6 foot tall and has to sit down into that stance. They will look a little bit more, maybe not as fluid as the other person or flowing as the other person in that way as well. So again, you see, it's an individual thing. And you go to an international umpires course, and that's what's said. It's your, if you like, you're umpiring, you're judging somebody, okay, but it's down to your personal choice then as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think patterns would benefit from being judged like instead of being two on the floor at the same time? What if it was one? Is that something that you'd be in favor of or against, or do you think there's merit in that argument? Or
I think there's merit in it, and we're possibly going that way. It will certainly, I know, make it longer from a competition point of view, because they're bringing one person out. There certainly is merit in it, because no 5 judges are looking in at one person. You have a case where 5 people looking at 2 people, their view can be split. Also, I would love to, and I've said to the umpire committee, I'd love to, if they could run an analysis sometimes of where the 5 judges are seated.
Yeah.
Okay, these 2 judges here, are they more looking at this person? And these 2 judges here more looking at this person? The person here has, or do you scan across? So if you're honing in for one movement at somebody else, you're missing an incorrect movement here. And at the very, very elite international level, that 0.2 that you pressed for that person will be the difference between them going through the next round or not winning, because it can be that tight. So having one person on the floor brings all the 5 judges focus in on that. Now they're talking about moving the judges into the corners like you would do for sparring. That will give a different perspective as well, because now you can see people as they're returning back, because you don't see them, for instance, say pan pressing block maybe, you know, when they're returning back in Jungun. Now you're going to do, those 2 umpires are going to see that down there.
Yeah.
clearer than the judges who are sitting up here as well. So I can see that they're trying to develop that as well, and trying to make it better from a judging point of view as well. So our 0.2s when we click it are more justified than, if you understand what I mean. So it will still be two. I still like that system because I think it can help people, and the standard comes up a little bit because I'm competing against somebody here.
Yeah.
That in subconscious, I think, is very, very important for people.
I agree with you. There's something about standing on the mats doing patterns beside somebody and going, right, if I start clean and I move well, I know I'm off, and then it's over to you, pal. Can you keep pace with me, or whatever it might be. What I mean, one of the things that I've been really interested in from the umpire's point of view is where you think the sparring is going to go, because we've seen kind of the evolution of sparring over the past few years, especially around contact and fouls for holding and stuff like that. And Taekwondo sometimes kind of gets a bit of a bad rap for being very kind of just sort of flicky and stop-starty. And do you think that's down to the way it's to the rule set and the way it's officiated, or do you think that's something else, or do you think that's even valid to begin with? Because I've been hit a few times and there's nothing flicky about it, so.
No, there isn't. I suppose, again, the more you go up the levels and the elite and things like that, they move so fast and hit so fast as well. You get hit in the head, really, really hard. You get hit in the head, it doesn't matter. So it can be a 3-pointer. Yeah, we are taking, I suppose, a little bit of a hit as well as what's like contact. And if I just take it from an umpiring point of view, at every championships, every morning in the umpire meeting, well, on the sparring mornings, we are told that we are light contact, and do not forget that. The centre referees are reminded about that as well. But you have people who are moving so quickly, have a huge skill and speed level, and they're trying to score points against each other. So if I make a little mistake and move in and I get hit with a side kick, that can be seen as being really hard contact. With a side kick. I'm a bit concerned about where we are going with the whole contact thing. I mean, we need people they're training 6-7 days a week, twice a day. The umpires need to keep up and a pace with that as well. Otherwise, what's going to happen is those people, those athletes, are going to go somewhere else, and are going to go to where maybe the rules are a little bit more, I'll call it, defined there for them. That they know that if they hit hard, like kickboxing, for instance, in continuous, that they can continue on. Our problem is every time something comes into contact now, it's head show, there's a break, reset, and we're going again. And they're losing so much time over that as well. And from a spectacle, it's probably not great. So if you brought somebody in who never saw Taekwondo before, and you show them what's happening here, I don't know if they would understand what's that rule for there, what's after happening there now. You need to explain to them where the scoring area is and what's happening as well. And the athletes as well, then from the other side, are getting so cute that someone goes for a turn and kick, they'll shift their movement, and all of a sudden, watch what was a target, hits to the back, and in that split second, that centre referee has to make a decision there and say, was that an illegal target
or really good gamesmanship?
Was it game, or was that even was it like the score was there, but maybe they reset themselves, and all of a sudden you get hit to the back and there's a thud, and then the referee has to make that split-second decision, look at the jury present and say, is that a minus point or not a minus point? Was it nothing happened? Or what was it? So it's a tough one, really. I mean, they tried to get better at things like time wasting. They tried to get better at making it clear on the warnings, do the warnings, and off we go again. And not spending 10 seconds on a warning, because in a 2-minute bout, two 2-minute bouts, losing quite a lot of time. What's the real, live sparring time and action time that's actually happening then as well? So It's a really, really difficult one, I think.
Would you be in favor of seeing something like we see in WT where the coaches have a challenge on decisions and stuff like that?
Again, it's a good. I suppose it is a good concept, but what's the challenges for? Was that a 3-pointer or not a 3-pointer? Is it a warning or not a warning? Is it time wasting or not time wasting? How many challenges can you have? What does it do? It breaks the flow of somebody then as well. I mean, some of these guys, like, it's like snooker seeing 2 shots ahead. Some of these guys are setting somebody for a shot, seeing somebody, a little weakness that they have in their movement, going one day, coming back against the grain and trying to score a technique and things. You know, what's holding, for instance? Like if I come in with my arm and I bring my arm up and it accidentally catches, or the other guy leaves his leg there. Doesn't bring it back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there and kind of stumbles back. So it's playing the game as well, which is sparring's all about as well. But it's always like manipulating as well. So I'm not sure about the card system, like, and how that would go and what it would do. But again, I know the tournament and umpire committee would be looking at all that, but in conjunction with the actual coaches, competitors, umpires. That needs to be a bigger conversation, I think, with everybody. So. And I think the new thing with the ITF as well, you know, with new committees and subcommittees and things that are happening as well, I think they look at all those areas as well, you know, which is good as well.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's nice to see that it's fluid as well, right? That it's not that it's constantly being looked at and evolving. That it's not just staying static, and that, you know, these are the rules and that sure they never change, you know, and that's great to see as well, because it keeps the game interesting, if nothing else, right? We all have to learn a new set of rules or a new set of games or a new set of strategies don't work anymore, and, you know.
Yeah, and even things like increasing the weight divisions, having more weight divisions, because you have a big span from 63 to 70, 70, 78, 85 and over. But you see even getting those male divisions a little bit more compact, and so you have more divisions within that as well. You know, same with the females as well. I mean, a good division with the junior females was 45, 50, 55, and that as well, that 5 kg break off works very, very well there.
We're quite wide in the weight brackets at the moment.
We are. Senior male is really,
it's a long way from under 70s, under 78s, you know.
And it is at international level as well, where you get somebody who would come along there, right, and be at 78 on the weighing scales on the morning that they weigh in.
Yeah.
You know what's coming.
I do know, yeah.
And they're 82 kgs, 83 kgs.
Yeah, they're 6'6", and you know
the big guys, you know, because they've rehydrated and everything then again. So yeah.
I mean, that's one I'd love to get. What's your take on weight cutting and weight making? I mean, I remember hearing this argument before, and it was like, you know, it's like you have, instead of changing the tire on your car, you're changing the road to suit the shape of your tire. Do you know what I mean? Should we not just, like, we have enough time at the start of matches to check gear and gum shields? I mean, not enough time to stand on a scale and go, you're out of weight or you're in weight. Do you know?
I think so. I think on the morning of competition, people should be at their weight, but that's just a personal thing. Myself, I think they would get away from all the there's quite a lot of weight cutting going on for people as well. They're trying to fit themselves into categories because they know they're best suited to that as well.
Yeah.
And I do understand, like, people, you know, for maybe height difference, things like that, want to spar in particularly in divisions, or maybe their height is an advantage to cut the weight to get to that division as well. But when I hear people like losing 6 and 7 and 8 kgs leading up to championships and things as well, I mean, they're walking around that a particular weight, you know, and they have to cut 2 or 3 kgs. That's fair enough, but you know, over 10% of your body weight is huge. These people, and just, you know, the health, you know, what's going to happen to their health in doing that. And I remember going back not so long ago when it was almost like a trophy, and you know, people on the national team was come along and say, "What did you cut?" I'm cutting to this, and it doesn't send out a good message to juniors, because they think that they're coming into that and they think that's the way forward. It's after getting better, but it's certainly going back not too long ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and people were cutting quite a lot of weight to get to it. And it was almost like, you know, well done for getting there.
Who would have thought it? You know, highly strung competitive athletes will make everything a competition. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, let's change tack a little bit, because I know you have other areas that you're really interested in. One of the things I've seen you push an awful lot is sort of special needs and inclusion in Taekwondo, and it's something that you've brought to the fore a little bit with your work through Cara and stuff like that. And maybe we could kind of talk a little bit about this and what your thoughts on this matter are, because it's highly fascinating and highly interesting, in an area that's really becoming more and more kind of to the forefront, and rightly so, you know. So
Yeah, I suppose like we have an inclusion committee now in the ITF, which is it's fantastic. But I think we broaden out rather than just inclusion committee, we're saying people with disabilities. I'm also on Irish Martial Arts Commission and inclusion officer there as well, and we've gone much more broader there as well, because now we bring into social side of things as well, in the sense of people who may not be able to afford it. Bring it to LGBTQ, that whole community as well. So we're really broadening it out. But I suppose where this has come from is, I suppose my own work as well, and what I work in my day job as well, is that I work with people with autism, teenagers and adults in particular. And I suppose I've seen the clubs as well where parents are bringing their children to the club. Just take a drink of water there. Where we're being referred. So clinicians, OTs are now coming along and saying that Taekwondo, from a whole motor skills, social skills, discipline, is a good area to come into. And what's happening is, I suppose, our clubs now, we're not geared for it. Not geared for it to take, maybe our instructors aren't geared for it. Maybe we don't have the facilities, maybe we don't have the training, maybe we don't have the instructor support to be able to do that as well. So I suppose what our big thing now, and it's great to see, is that it's in now our plan going forward from the ITA as well, our strategic plan, that there's going to be more inclusion training brought forward as well. And I suppose with the likes of Helen in Dublin, who is really, pushing forward in her area there, and is doing really, really well. But she will tell you that it's really tough from an instructor point of view, both mentally and physically. You need to have the right people assisting there as well. You need to treat like Taekwondo, we treat everybody individually, obviously, as well, but this is going even into more detail now about that person, and we need to be, I suppose, have this skill level in the training to be able to understand and talk to the parents as well. Can we gear up to do classes just ourselves? So rather than going, I cover this, I suppose, rather than going into the mainstream classes, can we have inclusion classes? Then that's extra hours for instructors, extra time and training and things as well. So it's a really, really tough one, I think, but we should, and everybody should sign up to the Disability Charter and what's out there as well. And we should, as an association, be pushing forward with inclusion and for inclusion as well, and not something we should shy away from. It's great. Mr. Byrne, we're kind of rewriting the intro to coaching and level 1, and rather than just being maybe a separate inclusion section in there and just saying, okay guys, this is going to be an inclusive section, we're actually going to build it into the intro to coaching, so it's going to be part of the modules now, which is really, really good. So we're helping again starting at that base level and upskilling our coaches and upskilling our instructors to be able to do that as well. But it is going to be down to the individual instructor, to take people, or, can they facilitate people? We should be able to, but can we facilitate, and still run your club? In what the club is for as well. So I suppose it has come from just seeing a huge amount or an increase in the referrals. And then also you can see it. Look, you've probably seen it yourself, where somebody comes in, form has been filled out. You might just do a quick scan form, nothing on the form, and then 2 or 3 classes in, it might be the first class, you can say, there's something maybe here I need to talk to the parent about, perhaps, and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see it yourself, but that's because maybe the parent just wants to be, you know, socially
Yeah.
included in something like this as well, and involved in something like this as well.
It's just strange because, you know, I mean, not having that information as instructors, you know, puts you at a huge disadvantage because you kind of you can't adjust your methodology without that kind of awareness of it. And you just sort of think, okay, there's something here, but how do I, you know, and then I've had it in the past and people have come to me, you know, a few months later, and go, oh yeah, by the way, there's this and this. And it's like, oh, is there? Okay, cool, great. Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And now we can work on this plan and now we have this strategy. And, you know, and I sometimes wonder if there's still that social stigma around this kind of thing that people are kind of they don't want to speak about it, you know.
I think it's getting it has gone. I'll say much better. It's not now something that people shy away from. People are being diagnosed. There's diagnosis done. At a much earlier stage and things. So, but just on that side of things, if you did see that, okay, my daughter says this to me because she's involved in teaching and obviously in Taekwondo, and she can look at it from that side as well as a great opener with the parent. If you have to approach a parent, is just to say, how are they getting on in school, or how's school going for them, and just see there, and then you might get a little bit more information that you can utilize then as well, and say, I've noticed in the class, and
Yeah.
it's dyspraxia, it could, it could be ADHD, it could be anything, but that's, I suppose, what Taekwondo, that's what we are. We're instructors, coaches, doctors, psychologists, physios. We are everything really. Like, and I think sometimes the parents bring their kids to us and think that we're going to basically be able to do in 2 hours what's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah. But it's definitely a worthy challenge and definitely something that I think
Yeah.
we can certainly assist in and help it, you know. And by and large, anyone that's come to me and said, look, there's dyslexia here, there's dyspraxia, it's like it's on the form, and it's like that's it. And any issues, blah, blah. And you can have a very frank conversation with parents. It's like it's this, and you know, they know their children better than anyone, right? So they'll be able to tell you
Yeah.
the what's what, you know. And it's but yeah, it's cool to see, and I like the way that there's a focus now on instructor training, because I think a lot of instructors, you know, and I lump myself in that sometimes as well, that are just a little bit clueless as to how to approach some situations and what you can even do as opposed to what you should do, you know. And you know,
Yeah.
because you don't want to put yourself in a position that you're unsure of, or you can't control, or that you can't you don't know what's correct or incorrect to do or say, you know. So I mean, the sort of the training side of that will really benefit instructors, you know, and it'll only benefit the people, then the students, as a consequence of that, you know.
Yeah, and I think on the we did a car course in disability inclusion training, and we're hoping to run another one this year
Yeah.
as well. And regionalise it, put one in Dublin, maybe one in Cork or Midwest, whichever way we go about it. But that was an eye opener for anybody who participated in that. It was
Yeah, I heard great reports.
yeah, it was really, really good, and they run a really good one. Then autism in sport again, which is really good as well, just specifically for people with autism. But I suppose from a broader scale, we can push forward from a Taekwondo point of view. We can adapt and do our own, training and classes for this as well. So I think we can really, really push things forward from a martial arts point of view in this country, and that's what I would like to do as well. And that's something that I'm trying to push internationally as well. They now have an inclusion committee, but it's a difficult one because it seems to be just going down into one particular area, whereas I'm in communication with other people in the ITF as well, and we want to go a more broader area with this as well. And it's good to get other people's ideas internationally as well as well, what they're doing, what they're seeing, and what's happening from their side of things as well.
For sure.
I suppose then as well, like the whole harmony course, but we need to bring people maybe from older, we don't seem to get as adults in either, and that's for me, that's inclusion as well.
Yeah. I mean,
the older age group.
I was only speaking to Mr. Byrne about this the other day, and he was sort of saying there's this almost like this gap in the market where if you go past the sort of teenagers and adults to the sort of north of 40, kind of north of 50s region, you'll get a whole demographic of people there ready and primed, ready to go training, and I think
there is, yeah, and we can adapt or take on to that. The challenge there, what I found anyway with adults, is they don't really want to come in and do the whole door book and do the whole pattern side and maybe grading side. They love the pad work. They love the pads. They love the physical workout and things as well. But grading things might be something maybe they may not be keen on. But like then again,
that's the game, right?
It is, yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've kind of segued me really nicely into this other question that I'm asking everybody that I'm interviewing at the moment. And Taekwondo, like I said to you, is a traditional martial art that has that perception associated with it for whatever reason or another. With the rise of other systems and specifically things like MMA, how do you think Taekwondo positions itself to stay? I don't want to say relevant, but to stay, in the public sphere as a viable system to come and train in, if you want a martial arts system.
Yeah. I suppose from our point of view, because of the professionalism of the ITA and things, I think we're basically second to none in that way. And for anybody who would come in and join any of our clubs, there's a system in place there. From progression point of view into whatever area they want. I do understand. I suppose I call it lure of MMA and things, and the whole, the profile of some people from Ireland and what they've done internationally as well there, and then you're going to have a surge in that the same way as you will have with Katie Taylor when Olympics or boxing point of view. You're going to have a surge into those areas as well. I think Taekwondo, we will always be, I suppose, attractive to the likes of kids in particular, and parents who want their child to come in, be involved in a martial art, and understand that it's not going to be very physical from a hitting or a contact point of view then as well. So I think that side of things certainly would be, whereas you go maybe to the more other age groups then, and they want to do the whole MMA, UFC side of things, because that's where this is glamour, and that's where I suppose they want to fight, like, well, have that physical fight. And that's maybe human nature. Like, there's some people prefer that side of things. But I think Taekwondo, I think we're in a good place, particularly in the country. I think, and from an ITF point of view, we're in a really professional organisation as well. I think we can really, like I said to my guys, if they were going away on summer holidays, now might be something we shouldn't be talking about at the moment. With the I said to them, there's somebody in, and we name countries, and there's somebody wearing this dobok and they're training. So our system, you can go anywhere in the world and train, and you'll have somewhat similar, language barrier different, but you'll have somewhat similar grades and groups and the whole levels that will be there as well. And that's really, really good to see as well. So I think we need to look at the bigger picture as well of what we have and tell people about that as well.
Super. What else have I have you time for a few rapid fire questions?
Quick fire.
Yeah.
Sure, go on.
Okay, cool. Favorite foot technique?
Downward kick.
Favorite hand technique?
Punch in whatever form it comes.
Favorite pattern?
Favorite pattern. Samuel.
Okay, cool. Pattern you don't want at your next test?
I can't. Master Weekly will be watching this. He's going to tip off. I would take them all. There's one pattern that I would like to do. If I was given a choice, and that would be Usin.
Okay.
Obviously, I'll take all the others, the Tongals, and everything. But if I was asked to do a pattern, and I have a particular reason for that, but anyway, yeah.
Okay, let's do that one away. What is your favorite memory from a world championship?
Ooh, that's a toughie. That's really, really tough. Benidorm 2013 would be fair, because I had a number of people, females, on the team, and they won the best junior female team on at the time, I suppose, because we had just recent success and things. That would have been a good one, and I suppose the second would have been in Canada in 07, was it? No, 07 as well, because that's where my daughter made her kind of her debut, like in the World Championships as well. So yeah, that's a toughie. Jeez. Okay.
What about What about best umpiring mistake?
Best umpiring mistake. Not so long ago, we were doing the fourth degree patterns, and there was pattern they were doing moo moo,
Hmm.
and one competitor did two jump back kicks instead of one jump back kick. There was a mistake, and the two of us went one way and three went the other way, and it was like, how did that actually happen? And you have to hold your hand up and say, yeah, sorry for that.
That's good. You need a bit. You need it every now and again.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, there's a few random questions just for fun. Look, Master Barry, for people that are down in Cork and want to come training, where can they find you and how can they get involved in your club?
Yeah, Taekwon.ie. Sarah Barry here looks after all of the socials, the social media side of things. So Instagram, Facebook, or Cork Taekwondo, Northman Carrigaline. We have a club in Northman Club in Carrigaline, and we train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we're occupied most days and things. So anybody's welcome to come and train. If they're in university, come down for a holiday or visit, whatever. Always welcome. Doors always open to whoever.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, I mean, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you tonight. I've had loads of fun, loads of great stories, and loads of great information there that I'm sure people will really enjoy listening to. Yeah, look, thank you so much again for taking the time to talk with me. It's been really, really good, and I look forward to getting out in the mats again with you sometime in the future
Yeah, great.
when all of this blows over.
Exactly. Yeah, hopefully. Anyway. So my regards to you, Becca, and how's young daughter?
Young daughter is hopefully sleeping at this
All
stage,
right.
but we'll
Okay.
find out now in a minute.
Okay.
She's good though. She's in great form. Thank you.
Great. Okay. All right.
Awesome,
Thanks.
Master. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. See you.
Bye bye bye.
Bye.